Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
It's a gorgeous afternoon for baseball today in Jupiter, Florida, and Roger Dean Stadium, the spring training home to the St. Louis Cardinals, and today they'll play host to the Florida Marlins. Hard to believe, but 2 weeks from today at Busch Stadium, we'll have our first of over 150 games on Fox Sports Midwest in sparkling high definition. I'm Dan McLaughlin, joined by Al Raboski in his 27th year broadcasting for the Cardinals, and Rick Horton as well. Al, let's jump right into it. Let's take a look at the pitching aspect of things. Adam Wainwright is out for the year, so how do you assess this pitching staff?
Well, everyone's going to have to step up a little bit, and I think the Cardinals really do have the arms to do so. Today's starter will be Jake Westbrook. We got a glimpse of him when he came over in the July trade. He didn't get a lot of run support. That's why he was just a 500 pitcher. But I think we have a better offense this year. If he gets his ground balls, he's got potential to be a big winner. Speaking of offense, Ricky, potential. Just how good can it be?
Well, I think Berkman's going to help in the middle of that lineup, but you're also going to need to see some development out of Colby Rasmus. Rasmus homered yesterday, and he is at that stage in his career where he just needs to take it up a notch. Of course, we also saw Albert Pujols go deep yesterday. His first spring training home run. We're used to seeing this. But the Cardinals really want more offense. Tony La Russa has been preaching that all spring long.
All right, we're looking forward to this one. The offense does get a test today. Josh Johnson, the starter for the Florida Marlins. Two-time All-Star, the big right-hander. Jake Westbrook for St. Louis. First pitch coming up.
Get ready.
A look at our Toyota keys to the season. The Central of the National League is better The Cardinals have to find a way to replace Adam Wainwright and Albert being Albert. And I guess, guys, probably now I'll start with you. The middle one is maybe the most important when you think about Adam Wainwright.
Well, there's no way to replace him. And I've always admired Tony La Russa because he always worries about what he has, not what he has not, you know. And I think the thing is going into spring training, you had 5 solid starters. So now you knew it was so early in spring, you knew that Adam wasn't going to be here. Everyone else has to step it up. And it looks like Kyle McClellan wants to have that 5th spot. He's pitched very well.
Jake Westbrook, Ricky, 9 2/3 so far this spring.
Sinker ball pitcher. He had a lot more strikeouts in his time with the Cardinals last year than we expected. He became a bit more of a power guy, but he really wants ground balls, pitch to contact, kind of right-hander.
First pitch at 105 here in Jupiter is a strike. Westbrook was picked up. 3-team deal at the deadline. Ludwig went to San Diego. Westbrook came from Cleveland to St. Louis and signed an extension in the offseason. Emilio Bonifacio, a switch hitter, great speed. This spring is hitting .233 with no home runs and 2 RBIs.
The Marlins have really struggled. They've lost 9 straight ball games. They have played horrible in the field.
Here's a little chopper to second base. Daniel Descalso. We saw him last year with the big club over to Albert Pujols for the first out. A look at the Marlins lineup this afternoon. Batting in the second spot, Omar Infante, their second baseman, the shortstop, always an MVP candidate, and Hanley Ramirez. Then Gabby Sanchez, Logan Morrison, John Buck, the DH today, Matt Dominguez, Fred Hayes, and Scott Cousins is their right fielder.
And the offseason, Florida has really targeted improved defense and pitching help. They made a lot of acquisitions, and they have a lot of young, talented players.
Omar Infante was a year ago in the talk of the National League batting race. He's hitting .310 this spring, no homers and 2 RBIs. And you'd have to think that the Marlins are going to miss a guy like Dan Uggla, who's now with the Atlanta Braves. Little chopper hit to third. David Freese is there, 2 away. Let's meet the Cardinals defense today. It's presented by Dobbs. Behind Jake Westbrook, Matt Holliday is in left, Colby Rasmus in center, Lance Berkman is in right. Good to see a healthy David Freese at third base. Tyler Green is at short. Descalso, we've seen him at second. Pujols at first, and Gerald Laird is behind the plate. Another huge key to the season. It wasn't in our top 3, but a healthy David Freese.
And he was able to play in back-to-back games last week for the first time in spring training, and I just think he's running very, very well. And certainly, I think a lot of people were questioning, guys, whether he'd even be ready for opening day because his surgery was a pretty nasty kind of surgery, but he seems healthy.
He's passed every test. He's playing under control. He hit a double in yesterday's ball game, and you could see that even, he knew it was a double. He wasn't going to push it, and that's under order. So he's going to be playing 2 out of every 3 games, and that's going to be the MO once the season starts also.
David Freese, every day this offseason, was at Busch Stadium working out with the medical staff of the St. Louis Cardinals, lifting weights. He did not begin baseball duties and moving to his left and right, ground balls and throwing basically until around Christmas. And normally he was telling me that he would begin before Thanksgiving, but had to take that time off. They did not want him to test it, and he feels good so far. Ramirez loses the bat and into the Marlins dugout, and Westbrook picks up his first strikeout of the afternoon. Carpenter, Rasmus, Pujols all coming up in the bottom of the first on Fox Sports Midwest. Gorgeous day here in Jupiter, Florida. We're excited to be bringing you baseball all season long here on Fox Sports Midwest. And happy St. Pat's Day as well. Matt Carpenter, Colby Rasmus, and Albert Pujols here in the first. Then Matt Holliday, Lance Berkman, and David Freese. Daniel Descalso, Gerald Laird, the pickup in the offseason, and Tyler Green. Cardinals may be wondering why you see a guy like Matt Carpenter at the top of this lineup and serving as a DH. They want to see what they have in him, and it's still not certain what that bench is going to look like.
You talk to anybody around the Cardinals, and the first name that comes up is Matt Carpenter. He has really opened up some eyes here, and he does have an outside chance of making the ball club because of Nick Punto missing the first month with his sports hernia surgery. And David Freese going to be playing 2 out of every 3 days. They really like Carpenter offensively and defensively. And Ricky, for a young player, he has a very good batting eye.
He had a big year in Double-A last year. Likes to go the other way, and that's what he does here, leading it off for the Cardinals.
13th round selection. He was 399th overall a couple of years ago out of TCU.
Actually 25 years of age. He's kind of a inexperienced minor league player in one way, but I think his future may be earlier than we think. I think he's coming on quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks through the ball club.
It's one of those fine lines. Is he better off to play every day?
Right.
Colby Rasmus could be a double play. They were playing in at third, out at second, and out at first. Double play, 5-4-3. Turned by Omar Infante. So Josh Johnson gets the double play. And 2 outs here in the bottom of the first. Dobbs defense. The Marlins have committed 22 errors this spring. Morrison, Bonifacio, and Cousins in the outfield. Dominguez, Ramirez, Infante, and Sanchez along the infield. And Brett Hayes is behind the plate.
Al was talking about how they've gotten off to a rough start as a team. Normally you don't worry about spring training, but their owner came out and said, I don't like the lack of energy I see. And when your owner says that, I think players maybe need to listen a little bit. Now, they are playing without 2 of their best players in Mike Stanton and Chris Coughlin, who've been out with injuries. But when your owner starts talking about it publicly in spring training, you better start showing up a little early, Al.
Yes, you better. I mean, when your owner talks questions, you know, you can lose ball games, but you cannot not look like you have any energy, especially when you have so many young players. And recently they came out with a top 100 players to know, young players, and the Marlins have 7 of those in the top 91.
Marlins have done just a remarkable job of replenishing their everyday lineup with good prospects. As Pujols was out in front, pops it up to Hanley Ramirez, and the Cardinals are done in their half of the first. Jake Westbrook back to the mound. Gabby Sanchez leads it off for the Fish when we come back. Day here in Jupiter, Florida. Glad you're with us again. Over 150 games in high definition this year on Fox Sports Midwest. Gabby Sanchez, Logan Morrison, and John Buck for the Marlins. There's no score. Inning number 2 rolls in, and the first pitch is a strike to Sanchez, who's hitting .423, no homers, and he's driven in 7 this spring. There's a line shot out to left. Holiday over to get it. That will roll to the wall, and it's a leadoff double for Sanchez. His fine spring continues. Monday nights, it's Cardinals Classics. We relive the best games of 2010. Look back at the 2010 home opener when Albert Pujols hit a 3-run home run and Adam Wainwright threw 8 scoreless innings. Cards beat Houston in that home opener. Cardinals Classics airs Monday at 8, only on Fox Sports Midwest. You were a part of a few of those, huh?
One.
Which one were you on?
Stavro home run against
Milwaukee.
Game winner against Hoffman.
Base hit into left center. RBI for Logan Morrison, his 3rd, and it's 1-0. The Marlins on top.
One of the things you work on in spring training is getting good jumps. You're on the bases. It's line drive to left center. Good jump by Sanchez. Reads it well. Scores easily. The spring training always has a great feel to it, doesn't it? I mean, there's something about spring training. Most of the players are just thrilled to be back playing again. I know our viewers are glad to be watching Cardinal baseball again, and kind of a relaxed atmosphere, except for the guys that are on the bubble that feel a little more stressed than everybody else.
March Madness, and you mentioned on the bubble.
That was a coincidence.
Down the right field line and out of play.
And of course, then you'll have next week when the players are just bored to death. They can smell opening day, but they're still stuck in Florida for another week, just chomping at the bit to get going. Like you also said, some of those guys got one last chance to impress Tony and his staff to try and make that ball club.
0-1 pitch to John Buck is hit out of play. From your experiences, and Ricky, I'll start with you. Who needs spring training more, the pitchers or the everyday players?
I think the pitchers need it more. The hitters will say that they could have spring training accomplished in about a week. And just get the swings going, get their timing down. They're hitting all winter anyway. But for the pitcher, you have that incremental kind of strength adding that a pitcher has to go through to go from kind of tired arm in the winter to game ready.
Popped up. David Freeze over, but Laird will take it, makes the catch. It's a windy day here in Jupiter, and we should mention, and Al, you saw the start by Carpenter yesterday. He comes away from that start healthy with the hamstring.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Chris Carpenter's announced as the opening day starter. He did start on March 31st, threw 33 pitches, then came out of that game with a little tweak in his hamstring. The veteran move, he didn't stay out there long enough to do any damage. And he missed a start, but that same day he threw 45 pitches in a simulated game. Yesterday, first Grapefruit League action since March 1st, but he threw 59 pitches, got his work in, everything is good. And so, he'll settle in and everything will be fine for him. But I agree with Ricky. You need the 6 full weeks for the pitchers.
Matt Dominguez, the hitter, third baseman, hitting .233, couple of home runs and 10 driven in.
He's one of their real bright young prospects. They're hoping he solidifies the third base spot, and then they can move Coghlan to center field.
Short lead at first by Morrison. Jason LaRue, guys, had to retire after the incident in Cincinnati. A number of concussions, but was kicked in the head by Johnny Cueto. Forced him to retire, so a new backup catcher with a lot of starting experience, Gerald Laird.
He's really fitting in well. I think the players like him. He's kind of a catch-and-throw guy. His offense has been good in spring training, but the pitchers will tell you they don't really care about the offense. They just want somebody that can handle the pitching staff.
The other day, and he came from Detroit, and he was a free agent, and they said he really didn't handle that situation very well, and it really affected his hitting. But very, very well liked. Matter of fact, I saw Jim Leland and Gene Lamont and all the manager coaches of Detroit really greet him, and it was very genuine. And then they all told me that he was much better hitter than where he was last year with Detroit. And Tony said something very good. He was the best catch and throw guy out there, and also confessed and understood that he's a backup.
4-6-3 on the double play. Off the bat of Dominguez. Matt Holliday riding a 7-game hitting streak coming up. Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Live. The just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor. By Steak and Shake. And by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. Gorgeous afternoon here in Jupiter, Florida. We're excited to be back with you. First of 150 plus on Fox Sports Midwest. And here's Matt Holliday, who's had a very good spring. Holliday, a 7-game hitting streak. He's hitting .474 during that streak. Overall this spring, .387, pair of home runs and 5 RBIs.
And a lot of people forget that he got off to a poor start, driving in runs. But if you really take his overall season, he had an outstanding season last year.
He sure did. The fly ball that's tailing near the line. Pretty well hit. It carries out to Cousins, and he'll make the catch for the first out. Well, next time you want to catch a Cardinals game, just head to StubHub, where you'll find the seats you want and the freedom to choose where you want to sit. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. What have we thought and seen from Lance Berkman, this spring?
Well, the first thing we've seen is he's quite a bit lighter. He really worked hard in the offseason, lost about 15 pounds, and seems 5 or 6 years younger. And he's swinging the bat well from the left side. We haven't seen him much from the right side because he's had some arm issues. He hasn't played a lot in the outfield. And that's going to be the question when the team breaks north. You can't DH, obviously, in the National League. He's going to have to get out there and play some outfield.
And he's doing it so now for the first time, and I think he's chomping at the bit. I don't think he really liked the DH factor, and I really think that it's not going to be a problem at all for him tracking balls. I think that was way overblown. He hasn't been an outfielder since '04. Pitchers can power shags. He can go out there and play the outfield.
What are you trying to say, Al?
Well, I mean, and he even said, the question is not my knee, it's not my elbow. The question is, can I still hit?
Strikes out here. The 5-time All-Star came in hitting .250 this spring.
If he does hit, think about the middle of that lineup with Pujols, Holliday, Berkman, Rasmus. You're talking about the ability to get some power back to back to back.
I think the question, too, is where do you want to hit him? You might want to hit him in front of Albert Pujols. Or you drop him down in an RBI spot.
Well, I think that remains to be seen. He's been rolling over on a lot of pitches and just hitting ground balls. But ideally, I think they'd like him in the 5-hole. But as you said, David Freese has that ability to drive in runs. But you kind of got to break up all those right-handed bats a little bit. So, whether it's a Kobe or Lance Berkman, I think initially you look him in the 5-hole and Kobe in the 2-hole.
David Freese hitting .381, 1 home run and 8 driven in.
I'd like to see Berkman get off to a good start. You think about the Astros over the last 5 years, they've been a team, and he included, that just started really slowly. And I'd like to see him maybe change things around in the Cardinal uniform.
You remember last year how they started with that long losing streak? Right. They finally snapped it against the Cardinals, and they actually played pretty good baseball in the second half. Houston.
Yes, they did. The Cardinals just a weird season. In my mind, they should have won the Central Division. They were right in there early September. They had the one-game lead, came home and had a bad homestand. But it was weird. They beat the teams that they had to, the winning teams. They were 12-6 against Cincinnati, but they couldn't beat the bad teams.
A chopper towards second and an air under the glove of Omar Infante. I asked Tony about that. He said you took the long ride to figure out whether or not you wanted to come back. As he drove back to his home in Walnut Creek, California, you see the ball under the glove of Infante. He said he did probably the most thinking about why they could not beat the sub-500 team. So I said, well, what did you come up with? He said, I have no idea.
It's honest.
Normally if you play 500 baseball against the good teams, which they were over 500, but you have to dominate against the bad teams. In that one road trip, 2-8 road trip, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Houston, that did them in.
Descalso rips it fair inside the first base line. David Freese on his way to third base. He'll stop there. Descalso with a double with 2 outs. Daniels hitting .250 this spring, and he's another one of those players that could break camp with the big club.
He's got a chance, primarily a second baseman, but if he turns on pitches like this and can show a little bit of extra base power, that will help out. Now remember, David Freese, by orders, just don't push it. Get over there, make sure, but Oquendo's going to be very cautious with it. David running under orders to, don't really apply that extra speed because they're still trying to let those ankles settle in.
Gerald Laird, the backup catcher this year. You get the feeling in talking with both Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, they would like to pull back Molina's workload just a bit going into the season.
Well, you have to be comfortable that the guy replacing him is going to provide enough offense to keep the the offensive side dangerous, and there's some offense perhaps.
Ramirez, a high throw. Laird is safe, and the throw at the plate to get Descalso. So the Cardinals tie it up. The defense 4 behind Johnson. 1-1 after 2. Brock taking in the ball game today, and you can take in a game from some of Busch Stadium's most popular seats, the all-inclusive areas. You'll get a great view of the game, plus all of your food and drinks included for one great price. And tickets are on sale right now at Cardinals.com. Lou Brock brought out the lineup card today. He and Jackie here in Florida, his lovely wife.
Had a chance to see Joe Torre this morning. So he's got a new job with Major League Baseball. And it's my understanding that his primary function is to control the umpires. He's very well respected, just coming off the field, and he's seen what's going on a little bit, and kind of rein in the umpires a little bit, and make them understand that they're part of the game, not the game.
Home plate umpire today is James Hoy, Ed Rapuano, Bruce Dreckman, Mike Eastbrook. And here is Brett Hayes. I know that puts a smile to Al Hrabosky's face, reining in the umpires.
Well, I mean, everybody understands they have a very difficult job. But, we used to say that if you didn't know who umpired behind the plate, he had a great day.
Right.
Because you weren't mentioning his name every 2 seconds. Like that pitch right there should be called a strike.
I agree. Sign me up. Joe Torre's the perfect guy to do that job, isn't he? I can't think of a guy more highly respected in the game than Joe Torre, a future Hall of Famer.
That's it. And I think Joe, because as well respected by the players, he can go and he can tell a player, this is why I'm fining you, this is why I'm going to discipline you. But to rein in those umpires a little bit, it needs to be done.
Count is full now, 3-2.
Speaking of Hall of Famers, Bob Gibson was here earlier this week. Whitey Herzog at the ballpark here this afternoon.
3-2 pitch. Chance for David Freese. Well, Albert Pujols will tell the umpires, like Bruce Dreckman, fans are here to see me. Better watch out.
Yes, miss.
By the way, Albert Pujols has come into camp in remarkable shape. Maybe the best we have seen him as far as how good a shape he's in.
Hit his first home run. It was a grand slam yesterday, part of a 5 RBI day.
There's a line shot into center field for a base hit over Tyler Green.
I think Albert's real happy the way he's swinging the bat, but I don't think anybody has much concern.
I think you made a great point earlier. Tony's mantra always is, let's talk about the guys we've got, not the ones that we're missing, like Punto to injury, like Jim Edmonds, who we thought we might have, then he wasn't able to play, and of course Adam Wainwright, the big blow. But when the guys you do have include names like Holiday and Pujols and Molina,
you'll be pretty good.
You can be pretty optimistic. Carpenter.
And I think, Dave Duncan, the longest tenured Major League pitching coach, I think it was the first time he went into spring training saying, I have 5 established starters.
Runner goes. Hit and run was on. Freeze. Only play is to go to first. And Brett Hayes advances to second.
He still had an out there at second base, but not comfortable. And there's always the baseball rules. Make sure you get one.
We talk so much about what David Freese can mean to this team offensively. We forget second half of the season, Felipe Lopez was over at third. And it just didn't work out.
There was a big difference, wasn't there? There was a big drop off defensively, and David Freese really wasn't advertised as a big glove man, but he was outstanding until he got hurt. And Cardinals just never able to replace that defense, as we talk all year long, and will continue to do it. Defense matters.
And that is one thing that a lot of people look at this ball club and wonder how much defense did they sacrifice to get more offense.
This is Emilio Bonifacio. Well, you're talking about a Ryan Theriot who's trying to prove himself again as an everyday shortstop. You have Schumacher, wants to improve, he said, at second base. David Freese, you wonder about his range. Two balls and one strike on Omar Infante. There's a shot out to left field, drops in front of Holiday, and a run will score. The Marlins go back on top of the score of 2-1.
It's the second time I've seen Westbrook, and the one thing I've noticed is when he gets the ball down, he gets his ground balls. When he gets the ball up a little bit is when you start seeing these balls hit. And you've got to get this ball down, and that's just why you're here in spring training, why it takes 6 weeks to get your pitchers ready.
And up is about thigh high to belt high. It's not shoulder high, and there's a big difference between being at the knees or below, especially for a sinker ball pitcher.
Ramirez struck out his first time up. Marlins will move into their new ballpark, and they've kept Ramirez around, not only because he's a great player, but he is, in many ways, the face of their franchise.
He's their franchise, one of the best players in the game when he wants to play. And this year, he's really said he wants to take on more of a leadership role. He wants to steal more bases. He was around 30 last season, but the first 2 years in the league, he stole 51 bases each year. But when he wants to play, he can turn it up a notch and control the game.
It's part of the Josh Beckett deal with Boston a few years back. Two balls, no strikes, with 2 outs and a runner at first. 2-1 Florida.
Shortstop, it hits 300, hits 20-plus home runs, and drives in 75 or more RBIs, steals 32 bases. He's a pretty good player. Doesn't have the greatest range at short, but he's got the numbers.
Hits it into right field. Berkman over. He won't get it. Cuts it off. Gets it back in. And runners at first and third with 2 down.
I watched Berkman run out several ground balls he's hit. He's running very well. He gets over and cuts this ball off as well as anybody else. Got a right-hand batter. You're playing a little bit over into center field, so he cuts it off and gets the ball to the cutoff man.
But no issues throwing it in. Good, strong throw. There's the leg kick of Hanley Ramirez. Think of Sadahara O, Mel Ott. Some players that have been able to get that timing down in their batting stroke, and he takes that ball the other way, which is where the pitch was, and that's why Hanley Ramirez is a .313 career hitter in the National League.
2 outs and 2 on.
And Bob Gibson say, yeah, you bring that leg up and let it hang. And remember, I'm throwing right at you. You can't move until you bring it down.
I think we all were saddened by the passing of Marty Marion.
Yeah.
I want to pass that along for fans that had not heard that. Base hit into right field. And it's now a 3-1 lead for Florida, but Marty Marion,
great Cardinal.
went to 93.
93, but not only a great player, but also a manager for the Cardinals. And I have seen him on occasion and was not aware of any illness. And he was a big man and just seemed like he was in good health, so it was quite shocking. And our condolences to his family.
As well as to the family of Drew Bauer.
Yes, that was a big, big shock. What a nice man, Drew Bauer.
2 outs and 2 on. Drew Bauer, one of the Cardinal owners.
Perry Hill, the first base coach.
You think about Mike Coolball when you see those line shots. Mike Coolball was hit on the head and passed away, and that's why you see the helmets around Major League Baseball. Cardinals have already had a scare with that with the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, that was a terrible moment. Luis Salazar, one of their minor league coaches, actually lost his eye in the process. He was hit right in the face with a line drive into the dugout, and just a horrible moment. And really, Brian McCann at the plate had a hard time finishing that at bat, and the teams weren't even sure whether they should continue the game or not. And he's been a good baseball man for years, and really just a horrible thing.
Logan Morrison, the left fielder for the Florida Marlins. Runners at first and second. Taps it foul, 1 and 2.
What scares us every year is every time you build a new ballpark, the fans want to be closer to the action. You don't see too many ex-players sitting down in the right over those dugouts or down the lines anymore, because we're a little bit smarter. And if you come to the ballpark, boy, it's a great experience in St. Louis. Always pay attention.
1 and 2 the count. And time is called. A few years ago, Juan Encarnacion in the on-deck circle.
Yep. Now the case here, when you've got a left-handed batter, everybody on the left field line, watch out.
1-2 pitch. Rolls over it. Hit to second. Scalzo there to Pujols. Marlins strand 2. They pick up 2. Lead it 3-1 midway through 3. Third here in Jupiter, Florida, with the Marlins on top. And Tyler Green will lead it off for the Cardinals in their half of the third.
Very important spring for Tyler. He's out of options.
And Green hits a fly ball down the right field line, slicing and foul out of play. He's also getting some outfield work, second base, shortstop, a little bit of third too.
He's going to, now he's your best backup for Terrio with Punto out. And being around the Detroit manager, players, and coaches, where they raved about Punto's ability to field.
Playing in at third was Dominguez for the first out.
Tyler Green's going to play 100%. The last couple of days he's been out with the flu, and he's going to try to make every opportunity count, and runs out hard down the first baseline. And I think he's the guy you've got to have. You've got to have him on your bench because of his speed and his versatility. Cardinals still don't have a lot of speed really on this team if you look at it from top to bottom.
Something we'd like to see a little more of, and I'm sure Tony would also. As a manager, he can employ the hit and run, and he can do some little different things or something like that. But to really have that speed burner that you know can steal bases, Cardinals don't have that option. Terrio is improvement there.
Matt Carpenter, 1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out. Singled to left his first time up. Played at Springfield last year, 105 games, and he hit .316.
Mentioned they're very impressed with his batting eye, but he was a 5-year senior. He had Tommy John surgery, in college. And just his whole makeup, they really like him. And one of the little nuances that I appreciate, and Tony does, and the fans will too, is you watch him at the end of an inning, he'll be the first one to sprint to the dugout.
2-2. Ground ball hit to second. Infante, 2 away. Fox Sports Midwest has a great deal for fans. It's the Red Meets Blue ticket special. Buy discounted seats for the Blues game on March 29th or April 5th and get $10 off select Cardinals games in April and May. Call the Blues at 622-BLUE and ask for the Fox Sports Midwest Red Meets Blue ticket. Colby Rasmus, the hitter. Grounded into a 5-4-3 double play first time up and launches one into deep right field. At the track, at the wall, goodbye. Number 2 for Colby this spring.
Back days for Colby hitting home runs, and did 23 home runs last season in his sophomore year in the big leagues. I think he's, now you can start asking him to do a little bit more. One, he has the physical ability to do so, and two, he's got enough seasoning under his belt to where you can ask a guy to step up. It's not fair to a lot of young kids to ask them to take too much control of the team.
The interesting thing with him is, where do you hit him in the lineup? Do you like him in the second spot?
If Terrio is going to be your leadoff man, and he has more speed, base stealing ability than Schumacher, and it looks like, whether it's Colby or Berkman, if you switch hitter, but then you got the right, the left, then you got the 2 right-handed boppers, Berkman, the switch hitter in the 5th spot, Freeze 6. It just seems like it looks a lot easier if you put Terrio there. And I tell you what, Skip is really swinging the bat well.
He is.
To where, now I think you put him down there and he may drive in a few more runs than you would anticipate.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Albert Pujols. Albert was saying yesterday that he's almost too quick with his hands and he's out in front on everything. And he strikes out. Second strikeout for Josh Johnson, but Colby Rasmus takes him deep. Replay 3. Marlins 3-2. This is John Buck, the hitter for the Marlins, to start things off in the top of the 4th against Jake Westbrook. 3-2 Marlins on St. Patrick's Day here in Jupiter, Florida. Al Raboski, Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you.
I like the green uniform.
I do too. I like the hats. I like the unis.
I like it for one day.
Yeah, for one day. Back in the day, you used to just have the green hat with the red uniform, and I thought that ensemble didn't really work.
Reaching for it was Buck. And a fly ball out to center. Colby's there for the first out. Follow the Cardinals with MLB.com at bat 11. For your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry, get spring training scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details. Inside that truck, Tom Mee, our director, Mike Helling, our producer, they'll be with us all season long. And again, we're excited to be bringing you 150 games Cardinal baseball right here on the exclusive home of the Redbirds, Fox Sports Midwest.
How about Dominguez, this young hitter, former #1 draft pick of the Marlins? So he's major league ready defensively, but I don't really think he'll provide a lot of power. And maybe if everybody is healthy, maybe he's a mid-season type promotion.
It is amazing when you talk about, Al, the amount of good young players that the Marlins produce, and they do a fantastic job of not only what they do in the draft, but scouting other teams to make sure when they do decide to make those trades, that the trades that they make are well worth it.
They had a couple fire sales in their history, and like you said, they've raided other teams' farm systems or got their top prospects.
Now, if you're a fan of the Pirates, you're saying, well, why can't we do this? You know, Jack McKeon won a World Series with the Florida Marlins back in 2003. Trader Jack, as he was known. But, you know, Ricky, if you're a fan of some of the teams that have been in the cellar for years, you're saying, well, how can the Marlins do this and we can't?
Well, the Marlins do it. The Minnesota Twins do it even better than probably any organization in baseball. They're able to get rid of guys like Santana and all of a sudden retool and come up with another strong arm out of nowhere.
Popped up to short. Green makes the play.
It's not that easy. You've got to, first of all, find the right players and then develop them properly at the right time. And the Pirates certainly have not done that for over a decade now. They've not been able to have a winning season. But the Marlins have always made themselves kind of in the thick of things. Now, you look at their division. You really have to be good to be competitive in the National League East when you're talking about the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Mets might be better, and the Atlanta Braves.
Braves are good.
It's going to be very difficult for them to win.
2 outs, nobody on. Foul back at a cut by Brett Hayes. And one of the keys to the season that we had was the improved Central Division. Chicago has added a Matt Garza. You look at Houston improving on what they did by the end of last season. Cincinnati comes back, and they're starting to lock up now their young players with contracts.
Just more experience in another year. Milwaukee had a good offense. They've added 2 good pitchers.
Zach Greinke apparently will not start on opening day, won't be on the active roster because he broke a rib playing pickup basketball. Greinke was picked up from the Kansas City Royals.
But they got Markham, Sean Markham from Toronto, who
we saw him last year.
He was outstanding shutting down the Cardinals. So, you know, they're going to be a force. They got 3 good starters now once Greinke comes back.
Team that still worries me is the Cincinnati Reds because they've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. A lot of publications are picking them to come in 2nd, 3rd, and sometimes even 4th after having a good season last year. They should be better. Everybody's back. They're good young pitching, and so they're kind of feeling a little disrespected. And so I don't know how you don't pick Cincinnati. In my mind, you've got to kind of knock them out because they're a team that's developing and they're just getting better and better.
Ask both of you. I thought the Cardinals should have won last year.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So there's kind of where, even though Cincinnati has a lot of talent, you know, it took a career year from Votto. It took those young pitchers are going to get a little bit more seasoned. But also you don't have that track record. Can they repeat what they did last year? Will they get better? Will they even stay the same? Those are unknown quantities. And so, you know, I think the Cardinals are a little hungrier because they know they let one slip away.
1-2 the count.
And it was such a mystery. I think of the game when Zambrano beat the Cardinals at home. And the Cardinals just went south in a hurry. And Zambrano had not pitched well in over a month, had been banished to the bullpen, told not to come to the ballpark for a while. Attitude was bad, and all of a sudden he comes out and shuts down the Cardinals, and their offense really never rebounded.
The thing that I think most fans look at was the series against Cincinnati at their place. You had the ball, and you sweep them, and you're
right
in first place.
And you come home where you always play good baseball. You've got your arch rival, the Cubs, who, you know, you're thinking that time, like you said, I think it was Zambrano's first start. It was, you know, after being banished to the bullpen. And it just didn't look like the same team.
Here's a fly ball out to center. Backing up a few steps, Colby Rasmus, he's there. Marlins strand a runner. Our 18th year of Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Lumiere Casino and by Bud Light Lime. The just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor. On opening day, we'll have an hour-long pregame show. You'll see the motorcade. Always a special afternoon in St. Louis. And we are the exclusive home of baseball for Cardinal fans. 150-plus games right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's Matt Holliday, 3-2 Marlins as we're in the bottom of the fourth. Along with Rick Horton, Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Just a few moments ago, Whitey Herzog, Hall of Famer, introduced to the crowd here at Roger Dean Stadium. Red Shandies as well.
I'd say he's going to go over and talk to Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight there with the red cap. A little chopper hit to short. Hanley Ramirez, and Holliday is 0 for 2.
There you see Red also next to Bobby Knight. I mentioned Jack McKeon in uniform, and you guys alluded to Trader Jack, but that was from his general manager's days, where he got that nickname. Not from manager.
Think they're talking brackets right now?
Yeah, and
I was thinking that.
Bobby's son got fired, didn't he?
Yeah,
He did. Son took over at Texas Tech. Pat Knight.
Yeah.
Berkman is swinging a miss. He struck out first time up, 1 ball, 1 strike.
So who you picking, Dan?
As hard as this is for me to say, the Kansas Jayhawks.
I kind of like picking the Cubs.
It feels like it. It really does. It'll carry all the way to right in front of the track, and the catch is made. And there's 2 outs. Well, for fans that want to hear some good news about Tommy John surgery, look at the guy on the mound right now. Josh Johnson has had Tommy John, and he came back in 1 year. Took him 1 year to come back, and he was on the mound in a major league game against the Dodgers.
Both starters have had Tommy John. Carpenter's had Tommy John. Kyle McClellan had Tommy John, then had a follow-up surgery on his elbow. He's throwing the ball extremely well.
The point being, with a guy like Johnson, that you can come back and come back fairly quickly. Now, you don't want to push it, obviously, with a guy like Wainwright, but you want to see him back.
Not only quickly, but at high levels.
Right. David Freese retired. Johnson is through 4th. Marlins on top, 3-2. What's on tap? And it's the Cardinals at Astros Saturday noon. And we'll have that broadcast for you on Fox Sports Midwest. Budweiser, what's on tap? Lance Berkman facing his former team. And you'll be paired up, Al, with Bill Brown, longtime voice of the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Not the drive to get there, but looking forward to seeing the Astros. Like you said, the second half, they played very well.
Brad Mills, and apparently the front office and players raved about how he handled everything last year, from the slow start to dealing with the trade of an icon like Berkman to the Yankees. Young players. Brett Wallace, by the way, has had a very good spring for Houston.
I thought Mills did a lot without much to work with. I don't think the rotation was very solid from top to bottom, but they just responded to his leadership. Tom Lawless is a coach in the minor leagues. You might see him on your trip over there. He's in Double-A this year. He's been very successful in moving up the ladder in that organization. He talks about a lot of the good young players. He has a lot of good young left-handed pitchers that he has a lot of high hopes for.
Strikeout of Bonifacio. Second strikeout for Jake Westbrook here this afternoon as he's pitching into the fifth.
Stretch out a little bit. Another pitch that's up, but Bonifacio gives up on it, and a questionable strike.
One of the concerns the Cardinals have right now in their bullpen is trying to fill the void of McClellan's spot, which is a real key spot the last couple of years, of a setup man in the 8th inning and also a right-hander, guys that can get lefties out.
Very true, and to the point where if you talk to Tony La Russa, even though Kyle has pitched extremely well in the 5th spot and should have that locked up, you say, have you replaced him yet? And he'll say no. So it is of concern. They do have some young guys that they really like their arms, but even guys like Boggs and Mott still have to take that next step.
I think your point about how good McClellan was against left-handed hitters kind of opens the door to maybe having 3 left-handers in the bullpen. Although the third left-handed possibility out there, Valdez, who we may see today, he's penciled to pitch an inning or so today. He hasn't really shown himself well yet, but he could be that third guy out there in the bullpen from the left side.
What about Salas? He showed some ability to get lefties out last year.
I kind of get the impression that he's not as high on their list right now as some. They got a young man named John Gast. He looks like he's, kind of like the Brad Thompson. Looks like he's 16 years of age. They got a tremendous pickoff move. He picked off another guy yesterday. It ended up 4, I think, at least 3. And the other day they had Gast helping Jaime Garcia work on his pickoff move. But he came in, he gave up a couple hits, but he had a guy on first base, first and third, and picked him off. And then Albert, then the guy tried to score, and Albert threw to Yanni, and they tagged him out. But it was like unbelievable. He had him by about 12 feet.
You guys mentioned Garcia. Any concerns with his spring so far? Numbers have not been good.
I talked to Dave Duncan.
That's ripped into left center off the bat of Hanley Ramirez. A few hops and off the wall, off the Budweiser sign, and Ramirez with a 2-out double.
And Dave Duncan really was almost like, why are you even questioning? He threw strikes. He threw good. We were really impressed. We really liked what we saw. Well, maybe look at the numbers, they aren't too impressed. But, last year he didn't give up anything in spring training. And this year they're saying a lot of his pitches are up. He hung a couple breaking balls that were hit for home runs. But the most part, they like what they see. He's trying to maybe do a little bit more. And in their mind, they have no problems with it.
I think the health is not an issue. That's the good news. But when you give up 9 hits in 4 innings, I don't know how you can say, boy, that was great, or the guy looked good. His velocity's good. I think his movement's maybe not quite what it was, at least through a couple of starts. And it's only been a couple of starts, so he can turn it around quickly. One thing you like about Garcia, Dan, he's very strong mentally.
Base hit by Sanchez that scores Hanley Ramirez. It's a 2-out base hit, and it's 4-2 Marlins. Gabby Sanchez, 3 for 3. Couple of RBIs.
And one of their better offensive players. Maybe doesn't have the power, but he can hit for high average, a drive-in run. Another little hanging breaking ball, elevated. And, that's what the difference is spring training. So you get in the regular season, you're able to keep the ball down. You're just getting your work in. And that comes from a guy that was the worst pitcher in Florida throughout my career.
You never had a good spring?
Horrible.
It's 9 hits allowed, and Pujols will step on the bag.
Better than not having a good summer.
Good point. 4-2 Marlins. To look at Dave Thrower, our cameraman, waving to you at home in St. Louis. He works with the Baltimore crew, and you can join us in Ballpark Village for the official Cardinals opening day pep rally Thursday, March 31st at 11 in the morning. The biggest party of the baseball season. Alumni will be there, and music by Trixie Delight, so you don't want to miss it, beginning at 11 in the morning.
I'm going to amend that. The biggest during the regular season. We want to have a bigger one for postseason.
Daniel Descalso, the hitter, 2 balls, no strikes.
Like the way you think.
Chopper hit to short. Ramirez makes the play. Descalso is 1 for 2 with a double. I mentioned Dave Thrower's name because we'll actually be in Baltimore this year. First time ever in interleague play that the Cardinals will be in Baltimore at Camden Yards.
I've never seen Camden Yards.
Gorgeous.
I'm not going this year. I'm boycotting Baltimore. I forgot the reason why, but
here's Tony Cruz, who wears number 80.
Hey, he came in behind the plate. I don't know if anything's wrong with Laird or not, but he's a young minor league catcher. Wire was telling that he likes his potential. He hadn't really. You look at his numbers; they don't really say a big story about him offensively. Mark is very, very positive on all the players.
I think he's really getting his feet wet too as a coach. Being a coach at this level is not easy. You got to work with a lot of different personalities. You've got young guys that come up and say, "Hey, that's not the way I do it. I was taught this way." And so, I mean, you have to be very kind of smart and judicious about how you dispense advice to these young guys.
It'll be another year or two when somebody's going to go, "What do you know?"
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you? Did you ever play?
Well, don't be surprised if that's not happening now.
You've been out of the game 6-7 years now.
1-2 pitch and a strikeout. Johnson in on his hands. Cardinals only with 3 hits today against Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson last year was the National League ERA leader. He was an all-star again last season, one of the best, and not too many hitters are going to hit that pitch up and in, tying their hands up.
The Cardinal fans have had a lot of complaints over the last few years, and I've been in that boat quite a bit about maybe Carpenter and Wainwright not getting the recognition they deserve on a national level when you start thinking about Cy Young awards, etc. But Josh Johnson's numbers have been as good as anybody's the last 3 years, and he's a name you don't really hear in that conversation either. You hear Lincecum and others, but Josh Johnson is one of the best pitchers in the game of baseball.
You did hear him until but he was only an 11-game winner last year. He won the National League ERA title. So that pulled him down right there, and then he missed the last 3 weeks as they shut him down. He did go on the disabled list, but had some a back strain and maybe something in the forearm, and that kind of ruled him off right there. I'd like to have it. Well, I'll take him. And as we mentioned too, there's another guy who came back from Tommy John surgery, a much better pitcher, since he's come back from Tommy John surgery.
We were able to chat with Adam Wainwright before the game today, who is back down here in Florida. The players gave him a nice round of applause when he showed up at the clubhouse yesterday. But he has said that he is going to stay with the team. He's going to stay in St. Louis all summer. A lot of times when they're out with an injury, they'll just go home. But Wainwright wants to be with his team.
Back-to-back strikeouts for the San Francisco Jackson. 4-2 after 5. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Lumiere Casino and by Bank of America. Well, with Rick Horton, Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Our 18th season of Cardinals baseball right here on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Brian Augustine takes over for Jake Westbrook. Westbrook 5 innings, 9 hits, and 4 runs. And gentlemen, what do we know about this big right-hander?
We saw him pitch in a B game a couple of days ago, Al. He throws kind of 3/4. It looks like the sinker ball is really his pitch. Kind of a tall guy. Didn't throw particularly hard. We saw him pitch against the Atlanta Braves in a B game early in the morning, and I thought he looked pretty impressive.
Yes, in that game he went 2 innings, no hits. He walked a man, struck out 4. This is his 4th appearance, and so far he's only allowed 2 hits in 6 innings, and 6 1/3 now. And he may be a candidate for that replacement for Oxworth. And the Cardinals are looking for somebody that could be a little bit more of a long man or the spot starter.
"44 players in camp right now for the Cardinals. 25 jobs to be had. And one of the things that happens in spring training, guys, is you're auditioning even for later on in the year, not just for making the team out of spring training. But you cut somebody's eye for a couple of scoreless innings in a spring training game with a green uniform on. People are going to remember that.
There's no doubt. There's a dozen scouts here. So you're not only pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals, you're auditioning for everyone.
2 balls and a strike. Matt Dominguez, the hitter, grounded into a 4-6-3 double play and also popped out to short. 4-2 Marlins.
Ian Snell retired. That was going to be one of their insurance policies down at AAA, but didn't work out. He retired. Batista still is kind of that type of guy. Lance Lynn
2 years ago was their pitcher of the year in the minor leagues. They feel that he would go to Memphis and be, that sixth starter guy that would get the first nod if something happened to a starter up here over an extended period of time.
PJ Walters and Adam Ottavino have already been sent out as guys that will probably be in that rotation in AAA. And again, it's a long season, and you hope that you don't have to use those guys during the course of a year, but you want to stay ready.
Here's Brett Hayes. He's 2 for 2. How would you assess Jake Westbrook today, Al?
He gave up an awful lot of hits. He didn't walk anybody. That's good. I think it's very difficult sometimes in Florida the way the wind blows. That it's hard to judge guys, but the wind shouldn't affect ground balls. And his base hits were pitches that are up. That's just a part of getting in shape. Being able to extend out, finish your pitches, and keep them down.
Popped up and out of play.
There was a time in spring training where the typical thing to say after a game like we saw Westbrook have here this afternoon, you'd say, well, he got his work in, and nobody'd be too worried about it. Tony La Russa has really transformed expectations in spring training games beyond what I remember 15, 20 years ago. He wants results too, typically. But there is a point at which that's true, that if Westbrook can throw free and easy, maybe he's working on a slider, maybe he's working on a pitch in a situation he wouldn't normally throw it in. Maybe the results don't mean so much. But I don't know, Tony's the kind of guy that likes results.
It's all about winning, but you, as a player, the first time you go to a camp and you have no chance to make a ball club, but you have a chance to impress the manager and his staff, and so you're a little bit overhyped and you probably try to do too much. Then once you kind of say, okay, I'm on the bubble, and you have to show something every single day.
Green can't come up with it.
And you have to show something every day. Then you're going to make the team, which Tony doesn't like anybody, even Albert, say I haven't made the team yet. But here you see the effort. I was talking about this the other day with Terry Pendleton. Remember how great Terry Pendleton was going back and fielding those balls? I said today, the third baseman really isn't even part of that play. It's always like, hey, go get him shortstop. But he also made a point, too, because, Ozzie played up the middle so much that he goes, I knew I had a shortstop that wouldn't be able to physically get over there, so I had to make that play. And if I didn't make it, I heard it from number one.
We had a great time with number one, the three of us, at the Cardinals Legends camp that was 6 weeks ago. It seemed like just a couple of weeks ago. Time has really flown by here, but Ozzie was able to come to that camp. Vince Coleman was there, and a bunch of former Cardinal players out. We had a great time. Dan, you were there.
The amazing thing for me, and I used to, as a kid, go to the ballpark and watch Ozzie just take infield, and he put on a display that was unlike anything you've ever seen. Al, he was doing things behind his back, over his head, through his legs. Even Brian Jordan, who was part of that particular group, came over and said, I cannot believe what I'm watching. And Ozzie's what, 55 now, maybe? Is that right?
Something like that.
It was unbelievable.
Let's see. When you were a little kid and you watched Ozzie.
I didn't say that. Don't tell him.
No, that's what Dan said.
That's what Dan
and I also,
said.
as a kid.
Well, I mean, that obviously means he wasn't born when I played.
Well, no, I used to go watch you in the Legends games.
Yeah, that's that thing.
We'd have that thing, the fireball that came out with all the smoke.
Well, that's just so strong.
Yeah. And there's a swing and a miss. And you know what I'm talking about.
Pitch up in the zone right here a little bit.
Drops down a little bit, and even for a guy like that, that's not where he wants that ball to be. But you can see he's big, impressive. He can be a presence on the mound.
Now this is what, your 27th year?
I think so.
14 for me. 14 for me.
Kid. Right.
And you were so good to me early on too.
I can't believe you survived.
I can't either.
It's by accident.
I want to hear more about that.
Afterwards.
Well, you had to pass that test with me too.
I still feel like I'm still trying to pass that test.
Oh, now I'm the voice of reason.
Here's the 0-1 pitch with 2 outs and a runner at first. Well, you could see with the size of this pitcher, Ricky, and the way that he is 3/4, where he could be very tough on right-handed hitters.
Tough on right-handers, and if he's got a slider to go with that sinker, that's the perfect complementary pitch. And when you throw 3/4, you typically are going to have more movement.
And this is a good test. Can he get a left-handed batter who gets a good look? And there's a good off-speed pitch there. Heading out front.
Cardinals trail 4-2.
Get ready.
Saturday, April 2nd, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older receive a family attractions card featuring thousands in savings at area attractions. Put one in your wallet. For tickets, call 345-9500. There's a line shot and a base hit into right field. Matt Carpenter, the DH today with a base hit. And we welcome in a Hall of Famer down in the dugout with us, and that's Lou Brock. Lou, always nice to have you on. How are you?
Thank you, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great. If you could count up how many spring trainings this is for Lou Brock, how many do you think this is now?
You know what, Bob Gibson and I were just talking about this just the other day. I think this would be about 47, 48 of them.
You still enjoy it?
I do. In fact, most of these guys now seem to be fit my grandson and granddaughter. They're like grandkids, and but they all are eager to know.
That's how I feel with Al.
Of course, Lou, we don't want to talk about how I babysitted Wanda in spring training a few years back.
Well, you did a good job, except you broke her arm.
Did you really?
Yes.
And my daughter walked around camp saying, Al Rybosky broke my arm. Al Rybosky broke my arm.
When I remember, I got sent down the next day.
Can you imagine a Major League ball player playing horses with kids, and then suddenly one of them get hurt, but Al did okay.
Now, Lou, I've always thought that Lou's one of the smartest people I know in the game, and he had Al Rybosky babysit for him.
Well, Al was just a kid at that time.
No, I kept on volunteering to take care of Luke, and somehow you would let me.
It's not happening. I got 4 kids, Lou, and I'm not going to let Al get anywhere close to those kids.
Close. Well, he's changed. He had to raise a couple of kids, too.
Hey, Lou, I know you've been around here, you and Gibby, and it's a thrill for the players to see 2 of the greatest players of all time. But you like to kind of get a feel for these guys, and who do you like in camp?
Well, they all look good. You know, the fact is, I was kidding Lance Berkman a second ago. He was out in right field. The ball kept finding him. He had to run from one station to another one, and said, Lance, you got to call him up and says, guys, take it easy on me. Don't be hit this ball out here this way. But they all look good. I got a kid here named Chambers who has the speed to be change the game a little bit, and I think Tony likes him, and I think he got the ability in due time to do well in the big leagues.
Yeah, Adron Chambers, and he's a real athlete. just really learning the nuances of baseball, but he's got a big upside.
Well, the fact is that he's stable. You know, most the guys who run fast like to run and hit. He's sort of a stay back and hit the ball, then he runs, and that's a big plus.
2 balls, no strikes here on Albert Pujols, who chops one foul out in front again. And Lou, I'm curious for fans at home, what kind of drills are you doing with some of the young players? What kind of things do you go over with them as far as base running and stealing bases is concerned in spring training?
Well, I guess I'm a fixture that they sort of pick my brains. Every kid who could run or can't run, the first thing they want to do is pick your brains. So I allow them to do that. They have a lot of fun doing it. And at the same time, you probably answer a question that they always had in their mind as to what it's like to be in the big leagues and what it's like to be a Hall of Famer. And I don't know all those things, but they think I do.
Well, you know a lot, Lou. We know that. I want to ask you about Kobe Rasmus. Do you think he has the ability to be a 30 or 40 stolen base guy at the big league level?
Well, right now, he hasn't reached as to what he really can do. I think he's going to be a power hitter. And as a power hitter, you just want to steal a few bases, but I don't think he's going to reach those levels, only because he's not that type of a player. But he's capable of doing a lot of things. It's just what he's going to settle to do.
Well, Lou, we can't thank you enough. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of spring training.
Well, thank you guys, certainly.
4-2, Florida. You can get today's top stories from Cardinal spring training at FoxSportsMidwest.com. Daily updates, videos, and interviews. Get warmed up for the season, all at FoxSportsMidwest.com. Many thanks to Lou Brock, the Hall of Famer, for joining us. Always fun to visit with Hall of Famers, and especially the class act of Lou Brock.
And class is a good word for him. He's always great to visit with, and you know, he just kind of brings joy wherever he is. And I think being in spring training for those young players, isn't that just awesome to think about those guys getting to spend some time picking his brain?
Here's Bonifacio and a new pitcher in for the Redbirds. That's Jason Mott as Hamilton takes over at first base, and Shane Robinson, who we saw in the big leagues a couple years ago, takes over in center.
Greenbirds, not the Redbirds.
That's right. And they're green for St. Patty's Day. They'll actually auction off those jerseys. They'll sign them and auction off those jerseys for Cardinals care.
His 6th appearance for Jason Mott, a mainstay in that bullpen, but still trying to evolve as a pitcher. They like to, accelerate him to the point where he could possibly close on days when Franklin, he and Boggs, I think Boggs has kind of passed Mott up a little bit because Mott still is pretty much that one-pitch pitcher. He's working on a two-seam, the sinking fastball. He's still trying to perfect the breaking ball. He's had one bad game this spring where he got roughed up, but other than that, he's done a really good job, something we're accustomed to seeing do in St. Louis.
For you guys that have been bullpen guys, when you look at Mott or Boggs as a closer of the future, there's an off-speed pitch. Is there one that right now you'd say would have the lead over the other?
I would say Boggs first, only because when he's nasty, he is the nastier of the two. I think when Boggs is really good, he's unhittable. He makes more mistakes than Jason Mott does, though.
I think, both of them can throw hard, but the secondary pitches are better by Boggs. And it really seems like a lot of times when Mott is really throwing that good fastball, it's very straight. So he's got to keep it down. He gets a little more movement when it's down, or it's tougher to hit. Get it up eye level and straight, it becomes a lot easier.
So Boggs has the plus fastball and the plus slider.
Slap to left, and Holiday won't get there. Drops in front for a base hit. Bonifacio is aboard. First time he has reached base this afternoon. We're in the 7th of a 4-2 game. Florida on top.
Frankly, it's nice to have both of them out there. Two guys throwing high 90s.
And like we say, we got two there that you feel very comfortable with, but the absence of Kyle McClellan, who for 3 years has been outstanding in that bullpen, you're still trying to find that void. So Augustine, didn't hurt himself with his one inning, walked one, but he struck out 2, did not allow a hit.
And Miguel Batista is another name that we'll hear more and more about. He's a veteran pitcher, been around the game a long time. Cardinal fans remember him as the guy that had the up-close and personal confrontation with Tino Martinez many years ago, but he's now in a Cardinal uniform, and he's really the guy who was given the job to lose, and not something that Tony La Russa likes to say, but that's what he said at the start of spring training with Batista.
Yeah, 40 years of age now, but can do a lot of things. And I mean, he could be a spot starter, he could be that long man, and he also on occasion could go in close. So Batista is a very valuable guy, and very few spots. Tony likes to set up a lot of competition, but speaks how well this team is put together, that very few players legitimately have a chance to make this ball club. Mahoney there is Tony's right. He's the AAA manager, Memphis manager. Hammer.
Here's a 1-1. Runner goes, and a throw to second. Not nearly in time. No chance for Cruz. Bonifacio, you might remember, 2 seasons ago, arrived in a trade to Florida, and he was setting the National League on fire. He was hitting close to 450. He was stealing bases. People are wondering, who is this guy?
And begin the year, and then, like you said, if he hit chopped down on the ball in the infield, it was usually a base hit. Stole that base off of Mott. It wasn't a strong throw by Cruz at all, but he stole it off the pitcher.
This is Omar Infante as an RBI base hit. And now he's hit by the pitch. So runners at first and second and nobody out.
Him on the elbow. Is that right?
And his afternoon is through.
Murphy's going to run for him. Just took off, ran in there, got around the elbow. He's got, I don't know how much padding he had. He had that arm brace where he got up to far enough the elbow or not.
Almost looked like it hit him back in the tricep there.
Yeah, but he was more than happy to call it a day.
Yes. Oh, yeah, after that.
We'll say happy birthday to Cindy Whipke, celebrating a birthday on St. Patty's Day. 4-2 Florida. 2 on and nobody out.
McLaughlin's not Irish, is it?
Just slightly.
Big day for you.
It is. There's a liner in the center. Robinson is there. Comes up firing. Great speed of Bonifacio scoring easily.
What about Obrowski?
Obrowski. Oh, Hort.
You're
just
definitely
doesn't
not
sound
Irish, Al. I know what you are.
People are trying to figure that out.
There's the base hit and RBI for Ramirez. 3-hit day, couple of singles and a double. Run scored in the RBI. Ramirez is done this afternoon. And here's Gabby Sanchez. So the top of this lineup really has done some damage today for Florida. Mostly against Jake Westbrook, who went 5 innings and gave up 9 hits. Sanchez a double and a pair of RBI singles. 5-2 Florida. So 2 weeks from today, opening day in St. Louis, March 31st.
I'm ready.
Starts a little bit earlier this year. I think we're all happy with that, especially for teams that get into postseason play like the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees or any of those teams that play up east or in the cold like Minnesota. Would have started a little bit earlier.
And there's even talk in the next few years adding teams to the playoffs and making it kind of one more round and add 2 more wild card teams, and you start to push into late October. That's going to be a problem eventually. Some year that's going to be a problem.
Runners at first and second, and a ground ball hit to second. Out there on to first, and they get the double play. 4-6-3. So we'll play on that Thursday, and then it'll be off day on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday they'll wrap up that series with the San Diego Padres and Ryan Ludwig. 4-6-3 here on the double play.
Not a hard hit ball, kind of jammed it a little bit, but get that runner at second, and a real easy return throw for Tyler Green. Boggs needed that, still has the runner at third. And one of their top prospects. About that list of 100 young players to know, Logan Morrison was number 6. Good eye, not much power, number 2 type hitter.
2 Cardinal players on that list, by the way, Al. The 2 biggest ones would be Shelby Miller and Zach Cox.
You have a chance to see
2 different lists. Yeah, those guys would be on the one list that
prospects of the future.
Yeah, that I'd like those, because one I saw had Alan Craig at 52, and had Descalzo at 86, and had Tyler Green at 96. Had Bryce Harper at 94. He was 18 and hadn't played a day.
Cox and Miller, did you guys see either one of those?
I've seen Shelby Miller throw, and the ball just jumps out of his hands. I mean, I would say he's a can't-miss guy.
They had to send him out before he made the team.
Yeah, right.
But, he was a number 1 pick a couple years ago, high schooler. Next year would be probably his first legitimate shot to make the ball club. They just want him to go pitch and learn.
And the idea this year that we've gotten, Ricky, is the fact that with Vooch now, John Vooch taking over the minor leagues and overseeing that they'd like to see these players earn it a little bit more in the minor leagues before they make that next jump. The Cardinals, in recent history, have really pushed those prospects through.
Yeah, and I think there's a new philosophy developing with a lot of teams in baseball that we're going to do something different. We're going to go back to the way it used to be. We're going to send you your 25 guys. You deal with them all summer. You help them grow. You teach them how to play. Sit them if you have to. I mean, that's a kind of a new thing. The Astros are going to that philosophy, I know. And basically it's letting the player earn it, as opposed to, well, my agent says it's time for me to go to AAA, and so, or it's time for me to play 7 days in a row. I just think that's makes it really difficult to manage and train a young player.
The ground ball to second. Back down, staying with it, they'll make the play. Marlins add to the lead. It's 5-2 and time to stretch. t-shirt featuring a vintage Cardinals bird and fun Cardinals facts. Wear it all season long, courtesy of Ice Mountain. Paid admission required. For tickets, call 314-345-9500. That's a part of kids opening weekend. And the kids, if you're 15 and under, during that weekend, you can have a voucher for a free ticket for April or May. There's giveaways all season long. That's also a Run the Bases day afterwards. So kids opening weekend. Here's Holiday. New pitcher, right-hander Sanchez, and all three of us were told that they really like this guy, the Florida Marlins.
Absolutely. Ricky, tell us all about him.
He's right-handed, and he spells his name with an S instead of a Z. How about that? You need anything else, Dan?
I was expecting a little bit better scouting report than that one.
We are in a little bit of a disadvantage as neither club has a media guide.
He's got a number in the 40s, though. We probably ought to know a little more about this guy.
Holiday, couple of hops in, off the wall and left. You wonder if his afternoon is through now.
Extends his hitting streak to 8 games, and he's going to have a big season.
Yes, he is. All three were commenting on the kind of shape that Matt Holliday is in, and not dealing with the expectations of moving to a new city, new team, contract like last year. It's under his belt. Ricky, you would anticipate a big year.
He may even find some more leadership out of Holiday now that he's a little more comfortable in that clubhouse. Might become more of his team. He hit a ball at Port St. Lucie earlier this week over a left center field scoreboard that folks were, during batting practice, the folks were estimating 450, 460. He has tremendous power. He's got as much power really as any player in the National League, and you know, he's a little streaky, but boy, those good streaks are worth it, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And like you said, it's potential with this lineup. Can a Berkman get things going? You pretty much understand what you're going to get from Holiday and Pujols. You're going to see a Colby Rasmus hit more against left-handed pitching this year. Off-speed pitch again to Berkman. And he's way out in front, no balls and 2 strikes.
I think a lot of what Berkman is going through right now is pitch recognition. You know, where he's just trying to find himself and everything, and he's just not picking up the pitch, rotation of the ball, and recognizing what it is.
Hits it to the opposite field. Catch made, and the runner Kazana is back at second base. He wears number 91, and Ricky has a scouting report on him.
I believe that's Amore Kazana that used to be Amore Marti. Actually changed his name. I believe that's the player that they got from Cuba.
Yeah, but he's with the Cardinals. Oh, Kazana that's running for him, yeah.
I think that's him.
Yeah, I was looking at Brian Sanchez. It is. He's 32 years of age, Kazana.
See, Al even knew that.
And he is from Cuba. And also that's what he admits to, is 32, and some people say he's been that for the last 15 years.
And let's welcome into the conversation Colby Rasmus. Always nice to visit with the Cardinals center fielder. How are you, Colby?
Good, fellas. How y'all doing?
Good. We're doing well. It looks like you're having a solid spring. How do you feel?
Feel pretty good. I started off hot, and cooled off a little bit there, and starting to catch back on.
As you look at this team, Colby, and in particular for yourself, this is now your 3rd year. How relaxed do you go into a season having a couple of years of Major League experience now under your belt?
I don't want to say I'm relaxed. You know, Tony don't like that. But working hard and excited about the team. We got some great guys in here. You know, bringing on Lance, he's awesome in the outfield. To be able to talk to left-handed stick. It's just been a pleasure being around him. The stories he has, and just the team we got. I think we're going to, it's going to be fun to watch.
Colby, it's Rick. Can you almost tell in the clubhouse that there's just a good vibe, a good feeling as I walk around and see you guys hanging out with each other? It just seems like there's a really good connection going on. Is that something you can tell this early?
No doubt about it. It's a big difference from last year to me. Everybody's coming in still, the same work ethic. Everybody's working hard, but it's just a pleasure to come in every day. I get home, have a good night, and then when I come back in, I'm ready to come to the field, ready to work, ready to be around these guys. Last year it was a little different than that.
And Kobe, it looked like it gives you a chance. You touched on it with Berkman there. It gives you a sounding board that you can talk to him as left-handed hitters and really compare notes.
No doubt about it. He coming up my first year, Hank was here, but he was still, we were kind of competing for the job, so it was, he wasn't really, wanting to give me too much advice, I guess you would say. But Lance, he's been great for me, and great for the outfield, speaking up whenever we kind of need to shut it down, because our outfield coach Dave McKay, one of the best. He likes to swing that fungo a little bit, and to be able to shut it down and kind of know our bodies a little bit and keep our legs fresh has been awesome this spring.
Hey, Colby, have a great year. We appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
That's Colby Rasmus with us, and we are in the bottom of the 7th inning. A pitching change coming up for the Marlins. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. It's 5-2, Fish on top. Two outs, runner at second. New pitcher in, and a lefty for the Marlins. And we also want to say hello to Matt Holliday. Matt just doubled for the Cardinals, then was lifted for a pinch runner. Matt, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
No problem, guys.
How do you feel now? Your second year with the Cardinals, at least second full season coming into this year, and just being able to relax this season coming in.
Yeah, it's been nice getting used to, having a year under my belt with all the guys in the city of Jupiter and how spring training goes over here and with Tony, and so it's been nice and relaxing. Go out and get your work done and get ready for the season.
Full-time resident of St. Louis now.
Yeah, it was kind of a cold winter, but it was good. It was good. It's nice to be around the family and to know that in April and May I'll be with my kids, and they won't be in school in Texas.
One of the good things about the winter is the Cardinals signing of Lance Berkman. What kind of difference is that going to make to you, Matt, in the middle of that lineup, to have Berkman and Albert and you and Colby? Do you think that move is going to pay some big dividends?
Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely lengthens our lineup. I think it was something that maybe we missed a little bit last year when Liddy got traded, and so I think Lance adds that length. It allows guys to hit a little bit further down the order that we're hitting a little bit higher, and it gives us a very tough lineup, 1 through 8. And so I think it'll be a great move. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun in the clubhouse. He's been fun to be around this spring and keeps the guys loose. So he's a great addition.
Matt, we're going to let you go. We appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Have a great year. That's Matt Holliday with us.
And this is Mike Dunn. He's another young player. He came over from the Yankees a couple years ago to Atlanta in the Javier Vasquez deal. And then he was traded to Florida in the UGLA deal. Power arm. They've seen him strike out more than a batter at the major league level, more than a batter per inning. But he also has walked almost a batter per inning. So just trying to harness that velocity.
2-2. Descalso checked the swing.
They were talking about Dave McKay, Dan, and all the balls that he hits. Colby was saying all the fungos. The Cardinal first base coach, Dave McKay, is doing fine now, but he had an awful fall this winter. Actually fell off a ladder, broke his pelvis in 3 places, and also had an issue with his elbow, and he hit the side of his head, and it could have been a lot worse, but he's really recovered from that. He's thankful that he got through it. He's thankful that that it wasn't worse, and he was also thankful that it wasn't his wife that went up there to put the Christmas decorations away. He decided to volunteer to do it. The ladder slipped and fell, and Dave McKay had a rough winter.
Does that sound familiar, Al?
Yes.
Poor June. Is she watching right now?
Of course not. If you try and change a light bulb for MCL or ACL, meniscus, bone bruise, don't you still want her walker? I need it for my age. She doesn't.
Descalso pops it up. Oh, and the catch is made. Battling the sun and the wind. Marlins on top after 7, 5-2. The Marlins with the lead here in the top of the 8th at Roger Dean Stadium in Florida. We are so excited for the season to get going on Fox Sports Midwest. Hour-long pregame show on opening day as you see Nick Stavano as your new catcher and Trevor Miller is your new pitcher, the lefty. And there's 2 lefties that have established themselves in that bullpen for the Cardinals. Talbot being the other one, and Nick Stavano showing his versatility.
In order for him to make the ball club, he's going to have to show that he can be a little more than that emergency catcher. Very good pinch hitter last year, Stavanoa, but taken off the 40-man roster. And I was kidding him the other day. I thought you looked very, very comfortable back behind the plate, you know, with the tools of ignorance. And he said, I wouldn't say comfortable, but he's a good guy. And Trevor Miller is who he's catching right now.
Really provided the Cardinals as one of the better pinch hitters that Tony La Russa went to last year, especially in the first half of the season.
Hey, it's one position to maybe go out to right field and show you can play another position, but when that extra position is catcher, that is not an easy thing to do. I mean, you've got to know each pitcher's kind of way of attacking a hitter. You've got to understand how to first receive the ball and all the throwing mechanics. It's a very difficult job to do part-time.
Seen a lot of guys that have extended their careers by 10 years just having that ability to be the emergency catcher.
And a swing and a miss. Strikeout for Trevor Miller to start this 8th inning.
A lot more than just catching and receiving a baseball. You got to call the game and everything, and there he gets a lefty. That patented breaking ball from Trevor Miller gets a lot of lefties.
Jamie Quirk comes to mind.
Jamie was exactly who I was thinking about.
Actually was a Cardinal coach in the mid-'80s, out in the bullpen with us, and then decided He's going to come back the next year and learn how to catch and play in the big leagues another 6 or 7 more years.
The Cardinals a year ago had Dennis Reyes and Trevor Miller, 2 lefties out of their pen, and Reyes was one of the best lefties in baseball for about 2 months statistically, and then it just fell apart.
Struggled, and you mentioned that the Cardinals signed Ryan Talent. He's not going to impress you with his stuff at all. And but Dave Duncan told me, the catchers will tell you that he's got a tight little cutter, and they like throwing to him. And Trevor, when he first came here, was pretty much a lefty specialist, but we've seen him get more and more right-handed batters out. And the way Tony uses his lefties, you have to have 2. And it's not beyond the possibility of maybe carrying 3.
And again, that's when you talk about the loss of McClellan trying to get left-handed batters out. Well, Tony would use him in spots like that too if his lefties weren't available, which was rare. But if that time did appear, it was McClellan that would get the call. So 2 strikeouts in the first 2 hitters that he's seen. Watch Nick Stavanoa receive the baseball here, 1 ball, 1 strike, and his throwing hand is exposed. A lot of times they'll tell you make sure and put that throwing hand behind your back, and right now it is exposed. Foul tip could catch that.
He could catch that, but I think right now you let him feel comfortable however he's doing it, and those are the nuances that you develop a little later on. You don't want him to get to the point of trying to worry so much of protecting that hand that he forgets about catching the ball.
1-2 pitch. Chopper to second. Miller a 1-2-3 inning. Midway through 8. Cardinals 5, St. Louis 2. For Florida, 2-5-0 for St. Louis as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Here on Fox Sports Midwest. Al Rabosky, Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Our FSN crew, glad that you're with us. Ready to get the season going.
And not only a happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody, but we also want to wish a happy birthday tomorrow.
Tomorrow
to Dan McLaughlin. How about that? Little bird told me.
You know, because this is Al. This is definitely Al's work.
A bird told me.
Come on, Nick. It's Al's work all the time.
You can just tell.
Oh, yeah. He's got his hands all over it. Thank you.
Luke told me.
Luke may have told you. He called me old the other day. And he's
been working on it.
Hey, it gets worse, Dan.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you that.
He started learning 4-letter words.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to hear that.
Instead of 3.
Here's Nick Stavanoa. Slim down Nick Stavanoa.
And the Cardinals took a chance And it paid off as they took him off the 40-man roster, protect a younger player. And no one picked him up, and so here he is back here trying to make the team again.
And for fans that maybe don't know about the 40-man, Al, explain what that does with Nick Stavanoa.
Well, you know, you have 40 players you can protect throughout your farm system. And of course, this is after 3 or 4 years that you have service time. You're kind of exempt those first 3 or 4 years. But by taking him off, you expose him to what a lot of fans hear the Rule 5 draft. And since no one selected him, then he's still your property of the St. Louis Cardinals. And bring him to camp, tries to make the ball club again, and you know, nobody took the veteran, so to speak, and you protected one of your young players in the minor leagues. So it's a gamble, but it paid off.
He's a leadoff man here in the bottom of the 8th, the 2-2.
And players get to the point where they've been around long enough that you've got to make a decision about them. The Cardinals not keeping Joe Mather. There's a number of other former players or players from last year that we will not see, like Matt Pagnozzi, and Randy Wynn's not back, Aaron Miles, and that opens up some space for the younger players to occupy the 40-man roster.
And Stavanoa chased that pitch in the dirt and strikes out. Look down to the Cardinal bullpen, and the closer, Ryan Franklin, is starting to get loose. Speaking of closers, one of the stories developing for the Mets, their former closer, the Cardinals, Jason Isringhausen, and a guy that was a starter and part of that Pulsifer and Isringhausen, Wilson, that trio that was supposed to be so good for years to come, and now Izzy has a chance to make the Mets.
That's great.
And they've got kind of a combustible guy out there in the closer role right now, the Mets do, in K-Rod. You're just not really sure what's going to happen with him, so it could be an opportunity for him to reach those next few saves.
I'm trying to get to 300.
Right, 296, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
So Green lines out to left, 2 outs. And Matt Carpenter will be the hitter.
He's got 2 of the Cardinals' 5 hits. The Marlins are trying to stop a 9-game losing streak. It's hard to do in spring training, isn't it? Lose 9 games in a row.
You walk into a win or 2, don't you? Or maybe a tie.
A split squad game. You're playing the other team's, maybe their B squad. And we talk about B games. That's typically a game that's not on the schedule that will be played in the morning. There's also split squad games where you'll break your team in half and send one on the road and have one at home.
No batting gloves worn by Matt Carpenter. Hits from the left side, makes you think of John Mabry.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that yesterday in the game, but even the body, you know, a little bit tall and lanky.
Yeah, but is he as funny as John Mabry? That's what I want to know.
He's very patriotic right now. He's very quiet. He's doing the right thing. He's a rookie. Rookies are to be seen, not to be heard.
0-2 the count.
Boy, isn't that true?
That's what it used to be. Gene Tennis told me a few years back after his last year of playing, he said, I come to camp, you know, remember it was rookies to be seen, not to be heard. He said, now I go to camp and, you know, I'm a 19-year vet, and he goes, guys go, hey, old man, why don't you retire? You're taking my spot.
Different world.
1-2 pitch to Carpenter. Breaking ball, and Dunn thought he had a strikeout.
My dear friend, the late Dave Ricketts, my first time in spring training, I asked if I could have one of those signed baseballs in the middle of the clubhouse that we were signing every day. And he screamed at me for 10 minutes and said, you have a problem with that, young man? You go talk to the manager right now. Who do you think you are, asking for a blah, 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 blah? And he's screaming at me right in my face. Last word I said in spring training. That's the way it was.
And Ricketts usually could do it without screaming, just with humor. He could undress you in 2 seconds. Oh, he was the best.
Great, great coach.
Great instructor.
Two on the outside corner. Strikeout at Carpenter. Ford on top 5-2 as we head to the 9th on Fox Sports Midwest. 2, 5-0 for St. Louis. As we move to the top of the ninth, the Cardinals closer Ryan Franklin is in. 7 innings so far this spring, and he's done a very good job. A 1.29 ERA, and that beard, or whatever it is he's calling that on his chin, is in mid-season form. Said he started that around Thanksgiving. Has not been cut since.
Very unique look, isn't it?
It's one way to put it.
You know, it's also amazing about Ryan and his job is it just seems as if there are a couple of guys ready to take that job year after year, and he still ends up being the closer. He just keeps staying out there, getting the job done. He's not flashy, not overpowering. He has about 10 different pitches he can throw, and he has great command of all of them.
Highly successful, and once again, he didn't have a lot of save opportunities, but he had a high percentage of completing those saves.
I was talking with him the other day. I said, what's been your best moment of your career? And he's had a long one now. And he said, making the all-star team in St. Louis. He said, being at home, family and friends, Midwest guy, and having that opportunity. He said it was a chance of a lifetime. And he said it's one of the reasons why he decided to draw back the statements that he made of retiring early. He said, I'm just still having too much fun, and I think about days like that.
Yeah, this was going to be his final season, and now he's reversed that and said, I'll amend that if I still feel like I do, and at the end of the season, I'll continue. Got the okay from his family, and why not?
He's also one of the most unlikely candidates to be a guy that's on Twitter all the time, but Ryan Franklin does it a lot, just started doing that, and he has some very humorous tweets, and you just wouldn't think of him as being a Twitter kind of guy, would you, Al? Out there hunting?
I haven't figured out who a Twitter type is yet.
And out at first, they just get him. We still have to get Al on a computer, much less tweeting. Big Cardinal fan, never misses a telecast, and apparently he is watching as we speak, and that's Keith O'Brien, who's one of our great fans that we see in St. Louis. I'm sure we'll see him on opening day. He sits right below us at the broadcast booth and doesn't miss a game.
Since Ricky's the youngest of this trio here in seniority, we're going to make
just keep it at youngest.
You are in charge of bringing the foam finger back to Keith.
Oh, thank you.
Keith,
he's a collector. Yes, he is.
I don't think he has a green one.
No, I don't think there's any chance he does. But knowing him, if it's out there, he would have found it.
So, Ricky, that's your assignment.
2 balls and no strikes on Emilio Bonifacio, back to the top of the lineup for the Marlins.
I find it very comical how he finds creative ways to pack those fingers into his luggage on team charters.
He's a creative guy, as we've seen. Two-one pitch.
You see Frankie incorporate that knuckleball a little more this year.
He said he was going to do that. The 3-1 to Bonifacio. 3-2.
We talked about all the pitches that Franklin has. Stavanoa, not a lot of experience behind the plate. This is a little tough chore for him to figure out how to work with the veteran closer. But I think Stabby's doing a nice job.
Yeah, he does a nice job. And the one thing is Franklin has the ability to throw strikes with all of his pitches. Do you have a favorite catcher?
I had a number of great catchers. My favorite was Mike LaValliere. Spanky was in the trade, Tony Pena trade with the Pirates. We lost him and Van Slyke. But Mike LaValliere was an outstanding receiver.
3-2.
Low target, wouldn't he?
He certainly would.
And Franklin just got a piece of it. Slowed it down to the second baseman for the second out.
And I don't think people understand how important it is for a pitcher to have a catcher that he's comfortable with. And I think right along with them and
I'm assuming yours was Ted Simmons?
Simmons was mine by far, because one is Teddy and I thought a lot alike. It was a little strange. But, two is I knew he was going to hit a home run or he's going to do something offensively to win the game for us. But it just something reassuring of putting down the sign that you're looking for and then see it, just accentuate that that's the pitch, gives you the confidence. Sometimes it can be a real battle fighting the catcher.
There's a fly ball, right center. And a 1-2-3 inning for Ryan Franklin. Cardinals' final hope coming up. 5-2 in favor of Florida. Play of the game, Matt Carpenter. A couple of base hits today. What has been a quiet afternoon for the Cardinals offensively with 5 hits. Matt Carpenter is your Budweiser Player of the game. We are looking forward to it, gentlemen. Al Rabowski, Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin. 150 games on Fox Sports Midwest, all in high definition. And it's always fun to do a competitive team and a team that rolls into a season that has a chance to win. The Cardinals have that.
There's a lot of opportunity with this club. There's no doubt about it. And every season has its new highlights just waiting to happen. It's new great moments. You look back every year, there's just some play you've never seen before. And it's just a privilege to be a part of the Cardinal telecast on Fox Sports Midwest.
I think the Central Division is much improved, which, Tony La Russa is going to use as great motivation. And I still, at the very least, they're going to be very competitive. But I have no problem saying that even with the loss of Adam Wainwright, they're still the best team.
You feel that way because of watching McClellan and Loesch, the way that they pitched?
Yeah, and I think that's, really, Kyle Loesch is pitching very, very well. I saw him the other day. He went 6 innings, 1 hit allowed, 61 pitches. McClellan's throwing the ball well. I want to see Kyle extend it a little bit, beyond 4 innings, and see if he can do it. That 6 innings consistently and not become a burden to the bullpen. But I just think there's a lot of things going on here, and Tony will get the most out of them.
Shane Robinson is the hitter. He took over in center field 2 innings ago. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The starting pitching is always a key going into a season. I looked at the Mets roster earlier this week, and there are 3 starters. You'd say, okay, those are pretty good pitchers. They'll do fine. And then there's about 6 guys that might be the 4th and 5th starters that nobody's really that excited about. And it's hard to go into a season like that.
You look at the Yankees.
Yeah.
Their rotation is all messed up. And so, you can't replace Adam Wainwright, but yet, you feel that you do have the arms that are available here. And, it's going to be very interesting. And you also have the ability to pull off a trade, too. Talking with Dave Duncan, he's very excited about some of the young arms in the organization that I think he was a little surprised at.
And he'll tell you if he's not.
Yes, he will. And he did tell me, he said he was a little more surprised with him, liked him a lot better until he saw him pitch a few times. but that's part of the maturing process, too. Because, they know they've got something to work with.
Robinson is retired. There's a sold-out crowd here today at Roger Dean Stadium.
Clay Hensley on the mound for Florida. He came over from San Diego, and he'll be a big part of their bullpen.
Speed pitch, and Hamilton is swinging a miss. Ricky, you were talking about the Mets. They just moved Oliver Perez to the bullpen. They don't know what to do with him. And then, Al, you mentioned the Yankees. They took flyers on veterans, guys like Bartolo Colon, to fill out their rotation.
Dan, they have been notorious for decades of never promoting their young kids. You know, they always will use them to go out and they over-evaluate them, and then they'll trade them off. They'll get a taker, trade them off to go get the veterans. But you know, with all the money they've spent, they're in need of pitching.
Kevin Millwood is a guy that they've talked about maybe taking a flyer on.
These are guys that nobody else took all winter.
And they put all their eggs in that Cliff Lee basket, and he winds up with the Phillies in that rotation. Arguably the best in baseball.
They're going to be some team. Their offense is outstanding.
And they just, you know, not healthy. You know, they've got concerns about his physical ability again. So these guys aren't going to complete every game.
Concern with Chase Utley right now in his knee.
They'll miss Worth. The phenom that was going to replace him is injured. Had surgery, I believe, on the wrist.
So 2 outs. Amari Kazana is the final hope for the Cardinals. Again, a 1-hour pregame show on opening day, March 31st, here on Fox Sports Midwest. Kazana hits a rope to center. That'll stay in the ballpark, and this ball game is over. Marlins win it by the score of 5-2.
Well, we got another day of work in. Tony saw his starter stretch out a little bit. Want to see more offense. It's been a little problem in spring training, but we know it's all working to opening day.
A little bit more experience with some of the younger players. Colby going deep. That's a good sign.
It was fun.
It was awesome.
Our next telecast will be noon. The Cardinals at Houston Saturday at noon. And you'll catch that action with Al and Bill Brown on Fox Sports Midwest. That'll be this weekend, Saturday at noon. Cards and Astros. Redbirds drop this one for Ricky and Al. I'm Dan. Thanks for being with us. 5-2 the final. Marlins over the Cardinals.